I look at it as, George is a great driver, always was good. He really put in a good show out there, commanding, even when Charles challenged and took the lead from him. He fought back, he was decisive, and strong and consistent. And not that he's always been consistent. He's always shown himself to be that. And as it progresses, I think we're going to see more and more. But where the differentiation is going to come now is the development of the package. Then we're also going to see reliability. And then what we already saw were this new package caught out Max, with his engine, it caught out Oscar because of the surge of power that comes down at whenever it's not consistent. So that's interesting for us to see. Thoughts on that, Simon?
Yeah, you bring up an interesting thing as far as, I have to give Russell and Mercedes their I don't want to say props, but props on really sandbagging in practice. They didn't really show everybody what they had as far as the miles per hour on the straights. I mean, in qualifying, it was night and day, right? But what I saw from Ferrari in the turns and in the corners made me know that it was circumstantial that they were fourth and seventh, right? Based on all the red flags that we had in qualifying, right? Especially on qualifying number 3, where, you put a certain amount of fuel in your car thinking you're going to go around 3 or 4 times. And when you only go around twice, you have too much fuel in your car, right? Just your tire strategy goes to all hell, right? And I knew when I saw the stats on the TV that, Mercedes had Ferrari and everybody else on the straights, but it didn't have Ferrari on the turns. And when I saw that, I said, yeah, it's circumstantial. They're going to do well. And then that start with Ferrari really just taking off like a drag strip down the straight. I actually thought Lewis was going to get first at one point. And I knew right then and then, okay, it's a 2-team race for this race. I don't know what's going to happen on the next race, but it's going to be Mercedes and Ferrari. There's no one else that could compete with them at that point. Just on the first corner.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Ray?
Well, yeah, maybe. We'll see. Yes, it's just the first race. So, yes, these 2 teams showed up for the first race, and they were there, to execute what they had brought to drive for the race, right? So we'll see as the season goes on, right, as to where things pan out as, more people get a grip on what they are bringing to the show, right? And at the same time, I believe there is an FIA meeting. They're going to talk about Mercedes engine, right? And the technology deployed in that. So we might see a change depending on where that goes as to the performance of the Mercedes car, right? So, so we'll see. There's a rule change coming up, and I think it's going to impact what we see in the field, right? So the only car that was true, I would think, from practice to race was Aston Martin. Right?
Oh, yes. Right? Okay.
So,
okay.
They weren't sandbagging at all, right? So, but I think everybody else was doing some sort of sandbagging.
Because you mentioned Aston Martin, I just want to drop this in. I wonder. I don't know. I feel bad for Fernando, right? I feel really bad for Fernando, right? Because this is his second go around with Honda, right? In 2015, he was with McLaren, and they came in with Honda, and the Honda, I'll just say it, the Honda engine was trash, right? And it was. And here we go again, that now, and I said it last season, I said it, provided Honda provides a good car, because we know the chassis is going to be good, because Adrian knew he designed it. The Honda engine was the question mark. And here we have arrived, and here it is. It is yet again trash, right? And the thing that gets me is that I look at that and I say to myself, how is it Honda, which has won world titles in Formula One, has a trash engine and Audi just coming into the sport with their own power unit, and they're doing good. Like, I don't know. I've always been leery of Honda over the years, that they come in and then they'll stay for a while and then they'll leave. Right. And then when they come back, I wonder, some of the teams may feel like, they've won races, so let's go with them. And then they're trash. Anyway, I feel bad for Fernando. I'm sorry.
So I'd like to follow up on that. I'll throw this out. Well, when Red Bull had them, right, as their engine manufacturer, right, before Red Bull went to do their own power plant, is it possible that they drew?
Oh, you froze there, Ray.
Come over to Red Bull.
No, right? Rephrase that. You froze for a second. I'm sorry. Rephrase that.
So I'm just saying, did Red Bull, drain the knowledge base that Honda had when they went to, make their own team for engine manufacturing?
Yeah. Red Bull took who they could from Honda and from Mercedes and from any other team that had quality people, sure, to build up theirs. But my thing is that Honda's track record now is an engine supplier that once they leave again, because I'm sure they're going to leave again at some point. Once they leave, if they come back, they should sadly be with like a team running at the back, because they clearly need time to sort themselves out and the process. But anyway, Simon.
Look, I don't really have anything to say about Aston. I think they'll get it together. I think there's a lot of experience there from a driver standpoint. Mm-hmm. But you're right. The Honda is questionable, suspect at this juncture. Mm-hmm. I'm more worried about Red Bull, right? What happened to Verstappen during qualifying, right? Mm-hmm. And see, it really cost him the race. He might have been up there with Mercedes and Ferrari, right? And then Hajar's car went out. Mm-hmm. So, there's issues there. Mm-hmm. There's issues that they have to fix. But it's the first race, and everyone's, you remember what happened 4 or 5 years ago with the new chassis. Mm-hmm. Everyone was struggling the first couple of races. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I'll say this. To finish I just feel bad for Fernando, because he's 44, going to be 45. He has a limited time. He's trying to win that third world title. And I don't think he's going to get it with Honda. I'll just say it that way. But what you said about Red Bull, they'll sort that out. Clearly, yes, because Hajar's car, power unit failure, that's a problem, right? Mm-hmm. Reliability. And then Max, when he had the lockup of the rears, that cost him in qualifying, again. But seeing how they performed in spite of that, I think they'll be okay, because they have the brain trust, the resources to sort that out. I would think fairly quickly to get back up there. That car is fast. That's what I want to say. But okay, team strategies. I want to start this one. Ray, send us off with team strategies. What are your thoughts?
Okay, well, I guess the Ferrari, kerfuffle again, right? Because they had their guys, one in between each of the Mercedes guys. And when that first virtual safety car came out, right, they went to go eat pasta, right? Because nobody was there to say to Lewis, are we chasing the people in front or behind, right? Typically, if you're chasing the guy in front of you, you want to dive when they dive, right? Charles came through. Yes, he had no opportunity, right? Because he wasn't part of the decision. But Lewis was behind George. So how come it didn't come on and say, hey, dive, right? So that he could go cover George at, moving forward, right? And, to the point where Lewis even said himself that, why didn't we split, right? So again, it's my two questions are this. Is Ferrari such an entrenched organization that they're not adaptable on the fly, right? In their ways of doing things.
Okay. And
also, are we seeing the signs of driver favoritism already? Because think about this. if Lewis dived with what's his name, with
George.
Russell,
Yeah.
right? Lewis would be then behind Russell, or he would then drop. Kimi would come on because Mercedes had a fast car. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. We saw when they were battling, right? Charles was trying to do his best with what he had, but I don't think they had anything for Mercedes, right? So Kimi was going to come around anyway. When Kimi came on station, he was ready to rock and roll, right? So basically, it would have ended up that Lewis would have been on the podium, maybe not Charles.
Okay. So
just putting it out there.
So I disagree with one thing you said. I saw Charles for several laps defend his position, right? The only thing that Mercedes had over Ferrari was the top end speed on the straights, right? But Ferrari had them on the turns, right? And so if you drive the car correctly to defend, right, you can let them pass you on the straights, but make sure that you have the juice to get them back on the turns. And that's what Charles was doing for at least 7 laps. So I think Ferrari messed up where you're right. They should have pitted at least one car, right? And they had an opportunity to do it again. And then the pit lane was closed, which screwed them over. So that, I give them a little grace on that one. But I do think they should have split, right? And I think they're going to learn from this one. I think that was a rookie mistake. I really do. I'm not going to go. I have to see more evidence of driver favoritism at this point.
Okay, go ahead.
So let me ask you, not about the favoritism part. Just a question. I'm just asking.
Right.
But not even that. But this type of kerfuffle that they did this time, didn't we see that last year? Didn't we see that the year before? Right. So again, is the organization so entrenched that they can't adjust to take care of some of these basic problems that they have? Because they're such a juggernaut as far as what they're doing, and because they're believing what Enzo says that the driver needs to drive the car, right? Things like that. Is it the point? Is it the point that they cannot shift? Or what's that saying? Or you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Is that what we're saying?
Can I answer that, Ralph?
Go right ahead. Go
50 seconds. I think last year there was no chance of them winning. And the mindset and the priorities shifted. I believe that there's a chance. When I say shift, that means they're not going to give it their all to be very flexible, because there's no real need except for them getting second in the championship. That was the only thing they were fighting for last year, and they lost it, right? But this year, I think they have a car that can compete, and they're going to have to be flexible. They're going to have to be thinking out the box. They're going to have to be thinking about plan A, B, C, D, and E. They probably only had 2 or 3 plans for this, because you're right, they suck. But they're gonna have to get, if they want to win, they're gonna have to get better.
Yeah. Well, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I want to tap out. So
no.
I just think that even you know what, I'm out. Sorry.
No. We're gonna come there. All I'm saying is, favoritism is always springs up, right? Because you have 2 drivers, so there's always going to be a situation where a call can favor one and not the other, right? And then favoritism springs up. Not to say favoritism doesn't exist, because I really feel McLaren favored Lando last year over Oscar. That's just my opinion. I may not agree with me, but that's my opinion. Last year, Lewis couldn't get the measure on that car, on the car he had. Charles could. He was doing better than him. Yeah, I think they're going to lean more to Charles, right? And it's Charles's team. Lewis is a newcomer. If he continues the way he started great. This was a great race. I enjoyed watching Lewis race in Australia. Lewis of old. His fire is turned up high, and if he continues at this pace and he's right, he finished a half a second behind Charles, right? If it continues, they're going to have to make those calls. That if Charles is ahead and Lewis, you're going to have to do it, because it's going to get ugly. It's going and Lewis can fight that fight.
Yeah,
and he's a big guy. He knows, he's been around. He knows the politics of F1. So he should be fully prepared. I think now that if he does indeed have a car under him that he's comfortable with and he can challenge for wins or podiums, yeah, you're gonna see, and I'll just say it, and nothing wrong with it. You're gonna see the dickish side of Lewis come out, and it needs to. It needs to. As DC said, Formula One is not a finishing school. You know, as I say, it's a shark pit, that shark tank that you're throwing into. You better be able to, defend yourself in there, or else you're gonna get eaten.
Yeah,
Simon,
he's going to be a Richard for sure, and I think if they had tires ready in the pit for him, Lewis would have went in. Right. But it didn't make sense for him to go in the pit because they weren't ready for him, right? And they should have told Lewis, come in, we're going to do the split, not Lewis having to tell them. Right. But they'll fix that. I have a fix.
Go ahead.
Can I just jump in one more time?
Sure.
I agree partially with what you said, Simon, and I think the thing that Lewis needs to learn is not like he was with Mercedes, where their act was always together. He has to adopt what Carlos Sainz did. You got to tell them what they wanted, what you want, right? And I think that's what Lewis needs to pick up on now is that, hey, and George did that too, the Mercedes, right? When Lewis was there for his last go, George did that. He made some calls on the fly. Hey, I'm coming in. Boom, right?
Or I'm staying out.
Or I'm staying out, right? And I think Lewis needs to adapt that now instead of being so reliant on them all the time. If he has instincts, he's been in the system so long that he's developed instincts, so he knows how a race should flow, right? And so I think he needs to step up and assert himself and say, hey, I'm coming in now, and let them run out with the tires and get stuff done, right?
Well, okay.
One last thing, because they've been doing this for years. And even with what Simon said, that, they didn't have a competitive car, but every point counts, right? So you still have to hone your skill instead of making these rookie type of mistakes off the bat, right? And you're still going to claim that you're the big Ferrari. Come on now. Those two narratives don't kind of gel together. I'm out.
I'll close it out. I think he will. I think he will, because I equate it to, you start a new job and you're getting your feet under you. You don't know the lay of the land yet. You don't know who's who, and you're figuring it out. And then on top of that, if you're starting the job and, hey, maybe you let's say maybe you're not performing as good as you know you can, due to certain circumstances. And then you get an opportunity where things shift and you learn the lay of the land, and now you're starting to perform. You know what happens then? Now you're the guy that, oh, really? You're going to talk to me like, I know how to take care of you. You can flex your weight a little bit more because you're bringing it in. If you're a financial guy and you're the rainmaker and you're bringing in the money,
yeah,
Joey that used to talk trash to you when you're going there, you're going to put Joey in his place,
Yeah.
And that's what Lewis will do. That when I say his dickish side is going to come out, it's right, and rightfully so. Once he knows he does have a car he could challenge for podiums, he will then get with his race team to say, listen, get my tires, I'm coming in. He's going to have to assert that. He's a 7-time world champion, right?
Yeah, that's
what's going to happen.
That's the only reason why he hired Kim Kardashian, is to help him.
Oh God,
be a little more Richard.
So,
anyway,
so moving on to qualifying results. We're not touching that one. Moving on to qualifying results. Simon, take us in.
No, qualifying was good, and I think I touched on it a little bit. And I wasn't worried about Ferrari based on their positioning 4th and 7th, because I saw that because of the red flags, there was a few teams that benefited from it, and there were some teams that did not benefit from it. And Ferrari was one of them. I think they had too much fuel. Tire strategy was all messed up on Q3 and Q2. But when I saw how they were starting off the grid, I was like, oh wow, did you see that? Did you see how they were starting? Mm-hmm. And then they jump started it. So qualifying, felt sorry for Max. Hadjar did good, right? Really showed Red Bull that he is a driver that they selected, a good driver selection. And unfortunately in the races, power unit went out, but Red Bull is still there.
Yeah.
I think right now it's Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull in the mix. And I do worry about these chassis and these new engines and power units being reliable.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I agree with Simon, and I'm just going to leave it with that for now.
Okay.
On that topic.
I agree. You touched on something, Simon, that I want to say too. I was impressed with Isaac Hadjar's performance in the second Red Bull. My question is, I still have a question mark on it, in that as the season progresses and they start developing the car, and clearly it's most likely going to be like the other years, it's going to be developed along the lines that are more comfortable for Max, if he will be able to keep up. I mean, he started great. But I'm curious to see how that's going to pan out as the season unfolds. But having said that, he did a great job, and unfortunate that his power unit failed. But the other one in the Racing Bulls, where Arvid Lindblad, oh my gosh! And what
where did he come from?
18 years old. And what I wanted to say is that Liam better step it up, because this will be yet another teammate that's kind of bloodied his nose out on the track. And Arvid is new to F1. That was a strong performance. But anyway, Simon?
Yeah, I mean, all the commentators were talking about how well he was driving. He came in 8th place on his first race in Formula One. Granted, it's a new chassis. Everyone's learning it. And the younger generation, understand technology a lot better than the older generation, right? But he came in and was driving that car, and yeah, like you said, he was doing better than his teammates. So impressive. Right. He's the only rookie, if I'm not mistaken, on the grid this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I look forward to seeing what they can do and what he can do.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Arvid, Ray?
No, he was good driver. He wasn't intimidated. He held up Max when Max was coming through the field, right?
Yeah.
He drove Max like he was just another driver, not that he was the world champion, Max Verstappen. Yeah. So I give him props for that. And he even mentioned it on a commentary that, he's a guy that he's going to stick himself in there and he's not going to back down. So it's good to see that. And I, hope the best for him, because he was holding back his father team, right? Because they're the babies, and Max and Red Bull, they're the daddy, right? So he was yo, if you want to get by me, you're gonna have to work for it, right? He's not pulling over, and I guess he didn't get anything over the radio to say, hey, you know who that's behind you? Make way, right?
Right.
So no, I was impressed. He stood up and he did what he needed to do. And yes, I was sad for Isaac Haja, that he the thing went up on his car, and it goes back to the point of a commentator that she said a while ago, is that you have to make sure that the driver you pick likes the setup or can handle the setup that Max needs, right? Because you're right, they're going to push the car to Max, right? And it's just like we saw when Checo was there in the beginning, right? Checo was holding on, right, as Montoya said, and then he just shifted over. You see what I'm saying? Because why? The car went away from him in a different direction of development. So, we'll see what, if what happens to Isaac, because I'm hoping this is not another career they're going to tarnish because of, how they do things, right? And let me put this out there, okay? Could it be that they know that's the case, so they pick drivers that don't like the way Max drives, so that, don't like the way that Max likes the car set up, so that, he won't be challenged as much because as they go to him. I'm just putting it out there.
No, I don't think that's the case. I think the way it was is that you would have a clear number one, and then you would look for a number two driver, right? Okay. Someone that that was not capable of challenging, but the team wants the cars to finish, one behind each other, so if it's 1-2, or something like that, and or on the podium. The other thing I wanted to say about Arvid Lindblad's defense on Max, Juan Pablo mentioned it as well, where Juan Pablo was like, that was a great defense, but he didn't do it for anyone else. He kind of made it easier for the other people. And what I wanted to say to that is, Arvid is not concerned so much with the other people right now. He's trying to send a message to Max like, hey, man, I'm not afraid of you. So I'm coming, right? Just like Juan Pablo did to Michael, which I've mentioned over the past, somewhere in the past 2 seasons, episodes of the show. that Juan Pablo arrived, and that move he put a move on Michael that when they had the post race press conference, you could see Michael was shaking, and I think it was from that move. Juan Pablo drove him off the track, but did it in a way that it didn't look like he drove him off the track to take the position. That's what Arvid's doing. He's sending a message to Max, and he should. Good for him.
Yeah, because you only have one time to make a first impression, right? And he's driving the nail into it, just like Oscar did with Max, a couple seasons ago, right? To let him know that, hey, I'm not going to roll over for you. So if and when we end up there, be ready. And that's important.
Yeah. And again, to close it, I'm sorry, as Senna did in his era, as Martin Brundle said in an interview once, Senna would put his car in a position where it would leave it up to you to have an accident or not. And if you did not cause the accident, he knew he had you from then on, and you would get out of his way. So it was an intimidation tactic, and that's what Arvid did with Max. He's trying that, and he should. Go ahead, Simon.
No, you're right. I mean, drivers respect drivers that you can't push over.
Right.
It's just that simple.
Right. So, having said that, new chassis issues to close it out. Ray?
So I'm kind of with the power unit, right? And how it deploys power, because when you look at what happened to Oscar, right? He went up on the curbing too high, the car possibly bottomed out. And, when he went to throttle, so it kind of, I'm assuming, let me say that there's no LSD, limited slip differential, in the car, because if you have a limited slip in your car, typically that the wheel that has no traction does not get all the power, right? The wheel that the power goes to the side that has traction, right? And the way the car spun is that when he came down, went to power, right? It's almost like they locked up the rear. So everything got the same power, right? And the guy that was on the outside, he grabbed him and then pushed him around, right?
Yeah,
the outside tire, right? So I'm just kind of curious, like, they still have a lot to work out with this new power unit solution that they put in place to, make it that the drivers can drive, right? Because some of the drivers complain that they have to do a lot of coasting in order to reach, do regeneration. As I said in the last one, that it reminds me of the time I was in a Tesla, and the person had it set up for 1 foot driving, that where you come off the gas and then it starts regenerating and brings the car down, right? So I think the FIA has more tweaking that's going to be needed in order to get this solution that they have in place or modified to provide the type of spectacle that we as spectators are looking for. And
I agree. Simon?
I love what I saw in the first race, right? I love the interaction I saw with Mercedes and Ferrari. I love what Charles was doing with Russell. I love the adaptive aero is what they call it, right? No more DRS. I'm just worried about reliability the first probably 10 races, right? I think right now a lot of things have to be ironed out, and a lot of things have to be tested and really understood. And I think we'll get there, but man, if there's some real good reliability, I think we're going to see a really good, entertaining season. I was entertained those first 10 laps. I don't know about you guys, but I was.
Well, I'll say this. That was the purpose, I guess. But from what I've been reading and checking out, and from what I saw, from a pure racing point of view, that's no longer in Formula One. So it's a lot of management in that, how you're going to deploy the battery, when you're going to regen, how you're going to do that. And a lot of the passing that you're seeing was that, there's no more DRS. So if you're driving the car the way it's designed right now, you're not really going to your maximum potential that you would have, let's say, in an older Formula One car. What you're doing now is you're becoming better at management of what it is, of the car itself in order to pass. So that's why you're going to see a lot more passing, which was a common complaint, right, about Formula One. There wasn't a lot of passing. So I don't know. I mean, yes, from a spectator point of view, it was entertaining, but from a driver's point of view, I think the more seasoned and older drivers, I can understand them why they may not like it, but you just have to adjust, because that is now Formula One.
Keep in mind, it doesn't matter the industry, it doesn't matter the business. It's all revenue generated reasons why we're doing what we're doing.
Of course.
And United States is now in the mix of Formula One more so than it's ever been, right? And just think about the races that are here in the United States. There's a lot of races where passing and action brings the crowd,
Yeah,
brings
I agree.
the revenue. So, yeah, it may not be pure racing as we understand it 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. But I think the entertainment value is going to go up to where we're not necessarily going to care as much. Purists will.
Thank you. That's what I was going to say.
But those new
Right.
revenue streams.
Right. And Simon, yeah, I guess that's the conundrum, right? Yeah. Because I remember when I used to watch Formula, like I said, I was a Juan Pablo fan, and I've been watching it since the 90s. I remember I could go out of my house and, whatever, go to the mall, go whatever. Never had to worry about hearing about the race. Never had to worry about finding out the results. And, I had it recorded on the VHS. I watch it when I get home, or the TiVo, and, as things went on. Now, no. And you're right. I'll close it this way. It's kind of like what I've had this discussion with Ray, and I think with you sometimes, Simon. It's like auto manufacturers. So let's take Porsche, for example. Porsche has always been a company that made performance-oriented cars. I know it's a sore spot for you, Ray, but performance-oriented cars. But I remember reading an article once where they said there were two types of Porsche buyers. There were those that bought it because it was it signaled they had arrived in their career, and then you had those that bought it because they were truly into the driving aesthetic of the car, the history of the car, and the driving pleasure of the car. But what has Porsche done, which they had? I'm not throwing any stones. I've had this discussion with Ray where it seems the cars that, let's say, the enthusiasts would really want are now, those are limited production cars, right? And the mass units that they're putting out is to cater to everyone, right? And that's what they're about. If they want to sustain themselves and be profitable, you need a wider, you need to catch more fish in that net, right? So the enthusiasts, the diehard enthusiasts that may not be able to afford those limited production, really performance-oriented cars, they're going to suffer. But at the end of the day,
they're going to buy classics, like kind of like what we did, right?
Right.
Mod. So,
right. Yeah. But you have to find your way. But the company is going towards, they are trying to sustain themselves and be profitable, and that's, in a way, sadly, how Formula One has become. But it is what it is.
But your business has to evolve with the new generation. The old generation is eventually going to, no longer exist. So you have to evolve with the new generation. The new generation wants what you.
but so I'll say this. But then the question becomes: Is everything that's new necessarily good, or should be?
No,
or
you can answer that right now.
Right. Okay, so yeah. but it is what it is.
It is. Got to evolve, or you're going out of business.
Or you go out of business, unless the entire model across the globe changes, and that's not, anyway. So next week we have China. So any predictions?
Yes, I have a prediction. Oh, Ferrari's going to win the race. I don't know who, but that's my prediction. Okay. Ferrari's going to win the race.
Okay. Number two is what?
Huh?
Who's going to be coming second and third?
Oh, between Red Bull and Mercedes right now. I think McLaren is struggling right now.
Okay. Yeah.
And they'll probably pick it up third or fourth race. But I think right now, the first two races, since they're so back-to-back, there's not much you can do for changing anything. You can tweak stuff, but you're not going to change anything when you do back-to-backs. So I still think it's Mercedes and Ferrari. And Red Bull, other than their reliability issues, they're looking strong. So I think
you're saying
Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull.
Ray?
It's still too early for me to call. I'm going to take a L on this one.
Okay. All right. No problem. I think it's going to be George again. I think it's going to be George. And I'll gamble. I think Lewis is going to podium. I'm going to say Lewis will be third. Second, Might be Charles. I got to see how Kimmy handles that. But so I'll say it's George, Charles, Lewis.
I tell you what, just one last thing.
Go ahead.
If it wasn't for the pit debacle as far as switching them out, I don't think Lewis was going to make Antonelli pass him. I swear to you, I think Lewis was going to make it as difficult for him to make a mistake and mess up.
Yep. I agree. I like again. I'll say it this way. Happy to see Lewis back.
Yeah.
With a vehicle. Put it this. No, he was always
Lewis
there.
never left.
Right. Lewis never left. So I'm happy that he has now been given a car that he can show his quality. Put it that way. All right. That's it. So with that being said, everyone, join us next Sunday at 7 p.m. We live stream for the Grand Prix in China. As always, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date on all things the fellas, and we'll see you next weekend. Take care.